Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine someone slowly shuffling a deck of cards. Not hurried, not dramatic, just steady, deliberate, almost ceremonial. 3 cards are placed in front of you. You haven't said your name. You haven't explained your situation. You haven't revealed your question. And yet, as the reader begins to speak, something inside you tightens. They describe a conflict you've been carrying, a fear you've never voiced, a decision you've been avoiding, and your first thought is almost always the same. How could they possibly know that? There are no obvious tricks, no invasive questions, no fishing for clues. So what is happening here? Is it magic? Is it coincidence? Or is something far more fascinating unfolding? Something happening not in the cards, but inside you? During the pandemic, neuroscientist and psychologist Charles Morgan conducted an unusual experiment. He redesigned an entire 78-card tarot deck from scratch. Every image was original, every symbol carefully constructed. What began as an artistic project quickly turned into something much deeper. He was challenged to perform live readings, but there was one rule. He was not allowed to know the question. Participants were told only this: think of a question that truly matters to you, but do not say it out loud. That was it. No hints, no context, no information, just silence and cards. Over time, Morgan conducted more than 400 readings under those conditions. People cried. People sat stunned. Some whispered, "That's exactly what I needed to hear." And eventually, Morgan found himself confronting a question that unsettled him. If I don't know the question, how can the answer feel so precise? This is where the mystery becomes more interesting, because maybe tarot doesn't work through external magic. Maybe it works through internal activation. The human brain is a meaning-making machine. We are symbolic creatures. We don't just experience life, we interpret it through stories, through images, through archetypes. When you look at a tarot card, you are not just seeing artwork, you are seeing potential narratives. You are seeing fragments of yourself reflected in symbolic form. And this process begins before you consciously realize it. There is a well-documented neurological phenomenon called pareidolia, the brain's tendency to detect patterns and meaning in random or ambiguous stimuli. Have you ever seen a face in the clouds? An animal shape in a stain on the wall? A figure hidden in the shadows? Your brain dislikes randomness. It organizes chaos. It fills in blanks. Neuroscientific research shows that the same brain regions that activate when you see a real human face also activate when you see a face suggested in an object, like an electrical outlet or a burnt piece of toast. Your mind completes the image. It constructs the meaning. Now think about tarot again. Each card is symbolically dense, yet open. The imagery is rich, but ambiguous. It doesn't tell you exactly what it means. It invites interpretation. And when meaning is invited, not imposed, your brain becomes deeply engaged. You project, you connect, you construct narrative threads between the symbols and your internal world. What feels like revelation may actually be reflection. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. If this is just projection, does that make it meaningless? Or does it make it profoundly personal? Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, introduced the idea of the collective unconscious, a shared psychological reservoir of archetypes and symbolic patterns inherited across humanity. According to Jung, archetypes like the hero, the shadow, the wise old man, the lover, the fool, these are universal structures embedded in the human psyche. They appear in myths, in dreams, in religions, and yes, in tarot. The 22 major arcana cards mirror what mythologist Joseph Campbell later described as the hero's journey, a call to adventure, a descent into uncertainty, trials and transformations, a confrontation with shadow, a return with wisdom. When you pull a tarot card, you are not summoning the future. You are activating archetypal patterns already alive within you. The card becomes a mirror, and the ritual, the silence, the focus, the intention creates psychological conditions for deep introspection. Charles Morgan noticed something subtle. The readings were often more powerful when the question remained unspoken. Why? Because silence prevents rational interference. When the question stays internal, the participant must engage directly with their own emotional landscape. The interpretation becomes less about external validation and more about internal recognition. And recognition is powerful. Recognition reorganizes the brain. Research in cognitive neuroscience shows that metaphor and symbolic imagery activate multiple neural networks simultaneously: emotional centers, memory centers, and narrative processing systems. Symbols bypass purely analytical thinking. They reach deeper layers. That's why a single image can sometimes say more than 1,000 logical explanations. Tarot works in that symbolic language. It does not provide literal predictions. It provides structured ambiguity. And ambiguity invites the mind to search, to integrate, to reflect. Now let's go even deeper. There is something transformative about ritual itself. Across cultures throughout history, ritual has served one primary psychological function: state change. When you slow down, when you shuffle deliberately, when you focus on a question that matters, when you breathe differently, you are altering your neurological state. Research shows that intentional ritual reduces anxiety, increases cognitive flexibility, and enhances creative problem solving. It narrows focus. It quiets noise. It shifts you into a receptive mode. In that state, the brain becomes more plastic, more open to reinterpretation. And here is the key. Tarot doesn't change your future. It changes how you perceive your present. And perception shapes action. Action shapes outcomes. Suddenly, the magic is not prediction. It's reorganization. The card does not tell you what will happen. It invites you to see what is already happening, but perhaps avoiding conscious awareness. Think about that carefully. How many answers are you searching for externally that may already exist internally? How many signs have you dismissed because they came in symbolic form? When someone says, "That reading felt so accurate," what they often mean is, "It touched something true inside me." Truth does not require supernatural explanation. It requires resonance. Tarot provides symbolic scaffolding. Your psyche fills it with content. And this process is not weakness. It is intelligence. Your brain evolved to detect patterns, construct meaning, and navigate uncertainty through narrative frameworks. Tarot leverages that architecture. But here's the final twist. Even if we accept that tarot operates through projection, symbolism, and archetypal activation, does that make it less powerful, or does it make it more honest? Because instead of surrendering authority to an external oracle, you are engaging directly with your own unconscious. The ritual creates space. The symbols provide prompts, but the insight emerges from you. Perhaps the real oracle has always been your own inner voice, waiting for a structured way to speak. The cards are not magic. They are catalysts. They do not impose destiny. They illuminate perspective. And perspective is everything. When you change how you see a problem, you change how you respond to it. When you respond differently, outcomes shift, not because fate was rewritten, but because you were. So maybe the deeper question is not, does tarot predict the future? Maybe the real question is, are you willing to look honestly at what it reveals about you right now? Because that takes courage. It is easier to believe in destiny than to confront shadow. Easier to seek prophecy than to accept responsibility. But when you sit with the cards, when you allow the symbols to speak, when you notice what resonates and what triggers, you are entering dialogue with yourself. And that dialogue can be transformative. The most powerful readings are not the ones that forecast events. They are the ones that awaken awareness. Because awareness is the beginning of agency, and agency is the beginning of change. So perhaps tarot has never been about predicting tomorrow. Perhaps it has always been about illuminating today, about helping you see the narrative you are living, about reminding you that meaning is not something discovered, it is something constructed. and you are the author. If this exploration stirred something in you, curiosity, skepticism, reflection, that's good. Stay with that. Question it. Explore it. Because whether you approach tarot as mysticism or psychology, the deeper invitation remains the same. Know yourself. Look inward. Engage symbolically. Listen carefully. And before you move on, consider this. What question are you carrying right now, silently, that you've been hoping something outside of you would answer? Maybe the next time you shuffle a deck, or sit quietly, or even just notice the symbols appearing in your daily life, you won't be searching for prophecy. You'll be searching for reflection. If this conversation resonated with you, let me know in the comments. I choose reflection over prediction. Subscribe if you want to continue exploring the intersection of science, symbolism, and consciousness. And before you leave, take a look at the 2 videos appearing beside this one. One dives deeper into how your brain constructs meaning from uncertainty. The other explores why certain encounters in life feel destined and what psychology says about that. Choose intentionally, because after today, you may never look at symbols the same way again.